Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are finally on F124, and I feel like I've been saying that for a very long time now. Although the game, this is actually probably one of the earliest it's ever been released in the F1 games franchise, but we are finally on F124, and of course that means we are starting with our hot lap and setup series. And this year, I do plan to actually complete it. Won't be releasing one every single day because I actually want to take a bit of time to do the best track guides and explanations as much as I possibly can. If you'd like to get these setups in advance, make sure you click that join button, join my YouTube member Discord, and you will get access to that along with discount on coaching at www.coachlimitless.com. But we're going to do this in track calendar order. And first of all, we'll be showing you the lap. Then I'll be breaking it down, and then you can watch it again as many times as you want. And yeah, this lap here, I think a lot of people will probably always say this whenever they do a time trial lap. There's a lot of potential on the table, and I think you will see with the Delta, I think I was 1.5 tenths up and then did only like half a tenth improvement by the end of this lap. So definitely a lot more potential. I think 2 or 3 attempts, which would be giving you pretty much the world record on my console at least. But the handling and everything, I will be saving that for another video along with my settings. So if you actually look down in the video description, and you can see the camera settings that I'm running here along with everything else. And if you've got any questions, make sure you just post a comment down below and I will be getting back to you. Or if you do click that join button, you'll be able to speak to me directly one-on-one. But yeah, this was actually quite fun, and despite the bad reviews with the handling and everything as well, which, don't get me wrong, it is very, very arcadey, you do have to drive very differently, and there is a skill element to actually understanding that and learning to be smooth and dealing with this steering ratio issue, which I would recommend you putting to 500 degrees from the very get-go. But as you can see, we've done a lap at Bahrain here. It's a 125.8. I think a 6 or a 5 is definitely possible. And yeah, that puts me in the top 30 worldwide. So let's go ahead and break this down. So going into turn 1, going all the way up into 8th gear, and you're braking very, very late because you've got a lot of downforce on this year's car. So about 120 meters out, so just before the 100 meter board, braking extremely late, but watch the steering. So as I release the brakes, I'm turning in, and then once I finish the turning in point, so really, really watch my inputs with the pedals. As the wheel unwinds, the throttle increases. Going through this turn 2, completely flat out. So you want to be barely turning the wheel, completely flat out. I'm running no assists as well, so you want to be ensuring you can do that. And don't use the upper portion of the curb, just the lower portion, getting the DRS again. And now heading into here, make sure you maximize this track as much as you possibly can. So 100 meter board here, but I actually brake just after it. So I'm still using it as a reference. And again, as I turn in, I'm releasing the brake. And then once I start to unwind the wheel, if you watch that throttle input, it is matching it absolutely perfectly. And then coming into this one, using all the track on the left-hand side. So when the wheel is straight, it's using all the curb here. That's when you can turn in, and you can see we're almost going flat out into this right. So again, just really kissing these curbs, not hitting them too much. You can get away with using a lot more curbs on this. Going to this right-hander, looking at Lavano, if I can get my words out. Once you go past that banner on the left-hand side, that is your turning in point. Close as you can to the apex, the curb, without actually hitting it. Let the wheel unwind again. And probably one of the most difficult corners on the calendar coming up now. So if we break this down a little bit in slow motion. So we want to be braking pretty much as possible in a straight line. But watch the steering wheel. So it unwinds a little bit. And then as the brakes release, the more I turn in. Watch the throttle. As the wheel unwinds, the more you go on the throttle. On this game with the traction, you can really be quite aggressive. So the wheel doesn't have to be completely straight as long as you've got the right momentum in the first place. Going into here, just before the 50 meter board, you can take so much speed going into this corner. So this is actually where I lost time. So going into here, ran a bit too wide, a bit too early. So you want to be a bit tighter to the left-hand side. Use this curb on the inside here. Actually drags you around really, really nicely. And then a bit of a difficult reference point here, but for me, when my wheel is straight on this curve for roughly about 1 second, and the curve starts to turn in, that's when I turn in. Could have been much closer to apex, so you can see we've actually lost time there. So we're about a tenth and a half, almost 2 tenths up, and we've actually lost all of that in the middle sector. Coming into here, so I use this 100 meter board, but I'm actually, again, breaking past it. So that's my reference point, but once I go past it, I start braking, and hitting the inside of this, that wasn't particularly optimal. You want to get as close as you can without actually hitting it. Make sure you get in the DRS, because I actually delayed that in the middle straight, and that's a 25.8. But yeah, that was enough for top 30 in the world, and I really think with a really good lap, it'd probably be a very mid 25. So on PlayStation, it's a 25.6. I think that's definitely possible. So with my setup here, again, going a little bit of stability. This is strictly really just a time trial setup for now. So if you'd like to know the more updated setups, make sure you join my YouTube membership. See, 40, 70, and you've got this engine braking. That's always going to be on 100%. So if you lower the on throttle, the more rotation you have when you go on the throttle. If you lower the off throttle, the more rotation you have when you're going off the throttle. So these are actually going to be quite high. Normally it's right, left for the suspension geometry, but all the way to the left for the cambers. That's actually going to give you more rotation. So yeah, there's parts of the setup you want to be really stable, like this here, very stiff on the front suspension, very soft on the rear, but the roll bars are as stiff as possible. That's to prevent the car from kind of over-rotating, because over-rotating is a very big issue in this game. So you either get a lot of understeer or a lot of oversteer. The front end always wants to spin round, and the ride height, typically so far, the front is a little bit higher than the rear, although the values are actually less. 100% brakes, 53. Notice I was actually changing the brake pressure quite a bit. In terms of tyre temperatures, in time trial, you don't get affected by tyre temperatures. So I would say recommending that you'd want to be lowering this for the race, because the fronts do overheat quite a bit. I will be doing a lot more extensive testing. So again, if you join my Discord, I will be updating my setups in good time, actually putting in my race setups for now. But yeah, if you're moving back to this, if you actually increase the on throttle, that's going to give you more understeer when you go under power. And then the off throttle, if you increase that, that's going to give you more understeer, more stability when you're going off the throttle. So typically I found that actually increasing that off throttle from a time trial to the race kind of really counters the over rotation effect typically with this. So with this, the suspension geometry, something I haven't really changed too much when it comes to online. And with this itself, yeah, it works really, really well online. I think mainly it's the tyre pressures and also that off differential. You could bring the wings a little bit closer together as well, if that's something you want for a little bit more stability. But I think high downforce is probably going to be the way on this game. But hopefully that has given a good explanation into the track. Hopefully you learn something a little bit different. Please like the video if you did find it useful. Make sure you head over to coachlimitless.com if you want a one-to-one coaching session with me. And I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.